He left home with a gun and a goodbye no one heard. Shane Devon Tamura, just 27 years old, drove more than 2,500 miles from Las Vegas to New York City. He crossed state after state with a heart heavy with anger, confusion, and pain. What could have broken this man so completely that he chose to end the lives of strangers, people with families, with dreams, with routines as ordinary as a Monday afternoon? Tamura had once been a bright young athlete, a high school football star in Los Angeles. But somewhere between those glory days and July 28, 2025, something dark settled in. Maybe it was the head injuries he believed he suffered. Maybe it was the years of untreated trauma. Maybe it was a system that failed to see how lost he really was. What we know is that he believed the NFL was responsible for the pain in his mind. He believed he had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, a brain disease caused by repeated blows to the head. He wrote in a note, "Study my brain, please. I'm sorry." He referenced other athletes who had taken their lives after years of mental decline. He truly believed that football had destroyed him and that no one had listened. But instead of turning inward, Tamura turned his pain outward. He arrived at 345 Park Avenue in Midtown Manhattan just after 6:30 p.m. Armed with an M4-style rifle and wearing a backpack filled with ammunition, he entered the skyscraper that housed offices of the NFL, Blackstone, and other major firms. He didn't stop to talk. He opened fire almost immediately. The first to fall was Officer Didarul Islam, a 36-year-old NYPD officer working a private security detail. He was a father of 2 young boys with a 3rd child on the way. He had come to America from Bangladesh, built a life, served his city, and died protecting others. His wife is left to raise their children without him. His unborn child will never feel his hands or hear his laugh. A family's future shattered in seconds. Others were killed in the chaos. A woman hiding behind a lobby pillar. A man walking through the hallway. Another worker on the 33rd floor. One of them was a senior executive at Blackstone. Another was an employee simply finishing the day. One more, a young woman, had just returned from maternity leave. One person who worked with the NFL was critically injured but survived. Countless others ran, screamed, cried, hid, or called their loved ones, not knowing if they'd ever speak again. People said it felt like a war zone, shots echoing off the glass, alarms blaring, voices trembling. Some employees said they texted their families from under desks, whispering, "I love you." Others held doors for strangers as they fled. Office workers became heroes. But the trauma remains. Behind every bullet was a life disrupted, a story stopped mid-sentence. Police say Tamura's rampage ended on the 33rd floor, where he killed one last victim before taking his own life. His note mentioned the NFL, mentioned suicide, mentioned brain trauma. Investigators found more guns, ammo, medications, and survival gear in his car. He had planned this. He had time to change his mind. He didn't. For the families who lost someone, Monday began like any other. A goodbye in the morning, maybe a kiss, a joke, or a promise to come home early. They had no idea it would be the last time. Now they're left with silence, with grief that has no shape, no end. A father won't walk through the door again. A mother won't tuck in her child. A spouse is left sleeping on one side of the bed, forever waiting for the other side to be filled again. How do you explain that someone drove across the country to end the lives of people he had never met? How do you tell a child that their parent died because a stranger was angry at football? Could it have been prevented? Tamura had a known mental health history. He had been placed on psychiatric holds in Nevada twice. Still, he had legal access to guns. He could drive freely, plan meticulously, carry pain that was invisible until it spilled into tragedy. This is not just about gun laws, or mental illness, or sports safety. It's about the space between silence and disaster. It's about the missed opportunities to reach someone before they fall off the edge. It's about how grief now lives in apartments, in offices, in children's hearts. It's about the weight a nation carries every time this happens again. No headline can capture the horror of what happened. No statistic can measure the screams, the final moments, the grief-stricken mornings after. What happened on July 28th is not just another news story. It is a wound. And unless something changes, how we care, how we listen, how we act, it will not be the last.